So basically, I'm a teacher, I'm a therapist. I happen to be a mom. I have a mom hat on, okay? But I love working with everyone from potty trained and up, which means a lot of ages, okay? But we have a lot of fun. So let's get rolling, okay? Yes, that's my office. So welcome to my office right now, a little bit, just kind of connecting the dots. So we're going to talk about something that we all have in our minds today and that is with us throughout life. We all have different voices in our minds. Like we have an inner critic, and it can be triggered by so many different things. So I'm just going to walk you through it. But I'm human too. You know, I grew up around here. I was telling a few people I went to Naperville North back in the day. So all of the wires in the world collide and crash into this classroom, and here we are. We get to hang out. So let's buckle up. And while we buckle up, we're going to be kind to ourselves. We're going to take it slow. If it's a lot, I do that by accident sometimes because I'm a therapist. We're going to breathe. I'm here to help and support you all. And you're here this morning. So we want to make this good for all of you and take something from your time you're putting into yourselves, okay? All right, that's not technically me, but I am a late diagnosed ADHDer. I found out when I was after graduate school and things just really came up and realized that made so much sense to the rest of my life. So, recovering perfectionist, my family, 7 generations around this area, so I guess they never leave, but I love it around here. I get to see your faces. This is so great. I danced for 18 years in my past life, but that's the thing that connects because I have like Sonic the Hedgehog energy. Does anyone have Sonic the Hedgehog energy a little bit and need to move around? Yeah. Hey, some of my new friends, I think this resonates, okay? Neurospicy, neurodivergence, neurodiversity, neurospicy, ADHD, and anything else that is an identifier under that. But I like the term neurospicy. I think it's really endearing because sadly, the neurodivergence, those inner critics get really, really, really saved deeply early on because the world was made by neurotypicals, for neurotypicals. So if you kick off life with a nervous system that you just happen to have, and the world is constructed in a certain way, which edit this for so many different lived experiences, inner critics get internalized so deeply. So I'm here to help nudge some healing vibes your direction to help adjust and tweak it so we can figure out how to create an inner self-compassion part because we need it. Oh, that was me. Neurospicy. It just, this kid couldn't sit still. But it translates to now because I just want to talk to everyone all, at the same time all the time. I get to talk to you all. Okay, so we're keeping it real. Inner critic voices sound like, I'm not good enough, I should have done this, I should have done this, I should. Doesn't matter, I don't matter, I'm never doing a good job, I did something wrong. And most of the time, these voices, these parts of us, are felt in our bodies. And it's been described as being like a spiral. And it comes up when something unexpected happens. And it could be a thing that you've been working on for so long and did your best. And we're all students. I've been a student. I'm a teacher still. I get it. And then you did the best you could, and then something happened. And then there's an inner critic voice that comes in. And it's so uncomfortable. It's sad. And it lingers. It's like this cloud that is so heavy, and so many different life experiences and things can add on and create a big cloud sometimes. So we're going to work on adjusting things around. Take a deep breath. Ready? I'm so glad you all are here. I'm proud of you guys. Okay? These difficult inner critic narratives are not accurate about yourselves. So all the parts of you are here today. Sounds interesting. All the emotional parts are here with you. Obviously, here you are. You have an emotional system with all the different parts of you. So angry part, sad part, excited part, tired part. We were talking about who is tired this morning. That's okay because it's early for you all because I would love for you all to sleep in, but here you are. It's awesome. So I want to let you know with your emotional system that you have, knowing that we all have inner critic voices, that your inner critic is not accurate about yourself and is actually not your own voice. It doesn't belong to you. It's someone else's voice that was just saved. And so it's a saved voice that repeats over and over when something unexpected happens. And that's not fun. No, it hurts our feelings and it hurts our souls. It takes a toll. Okay. In order to allow the inner critic to rest, we need to develop and incorporate a self-compassionate part of us because we deserve that. We need that. This is a hard world. It's hard to be a student. And you're the student, so you get to tell me how hard it is. It was different back in our day, which is interesting to talk about those things, but it's real. Every part of your emotional system, all the parts, even the parts that we feel really upset about, the parts that we want to tuck away, the parts that we feel maybe the really heavy words like shame or guilt about, which like most of the time and 100% true is like that part doesn't even belong to you either, right? So if you feel any of these things, I want you to know, this is going to sound interesting, but every part of you means well and good for yourself. So even if that inner critic part shows up, it's trying to show up to help you to prepare for something ahead, to prepare to prevent any further something from happening, or actually act as like a motivator for you to do a thing to like help course correct or figure things out. And I know that's such an interesting thing to hear. So if we find a way, when we feel a different emotional state come up, we want to create a state that's really kind and gentle to yourself to let that be a reminder of, this isn't true what you're feeling right now. This isn't true about you. This isn't your identity. You are not a failure. You're not those things. How do we be more flexible with ourselves? Because that's the way to feeling not agonized all the time. I was an agonized kid, and in high school, your age, all your age ranges, I suffered with my inner critic. But I was an ADHDer, which means I had a huge force field mask that was ironclad, maybe maybe 1 inch, no, what am I saying here? Is that funny? 3 or 2 feet thick of armor. Because when we wake up for school every morning, we put on our backpack, we put on our whatever, our coat, or we want to throw our coats at our moms. Hey, it happens, I know. And we put on our thick masking thing of our game face. So I was in shambles back in the day, and I know what it feels like. And me standing here years later in this cool classroom with all of you is a gift, because I get to let you know that your inner critic isn't true about you. And I wish someone said that to me. So let's breathe. Ready? This is a good part to breathe. This is quite a talk for this early, but I'm proud of you all. Okay, so this is just like if you're visual like me, we're looking at the self energy. So by the way, your self and your soul and your heart never goes away. It's never destroyed. And that's interesting to think about too, I imagine, because I hear in my therapy couch you saw a few minutes ago, people come and, let it all out and, feel broken, feel I don't know who I am. Maybe not right now they don't, but they will eventually find it out, because the self is never destroyed or taken away. It's in there. We just got all the tangles of life or hurdles or, heaven forbid, barriers that get in the way of a lot of things and create that pain. So we have interesting parts of us. We have manager parts and we have firefighter parts. That's an interesting way to think about this, right? Managers and firefighters are protective parts. So manager parts operate via perfectionism to avoid feeling shame and pain. So that's understandable. That manager part is trying to anticipate so many things. So that can come out in so many different personality traits, and just trying to, control and make things as good as possible, which is so well intentioned, to prevent from whoever is around you in your environment from, interesting term, but busting your chops or being hard on you, right? So we are so grateful for those manager parts. Even though they may eventually exhaust us, when you become an adult like me, there was a burnout factor. It happens to adults, okay, yeah. But that's when adults need to do their healing, right? This comes full circle. Protective firefighter parts is when the substances part is used to try to avoid and escape the intensity of emotional pain. So if we start thinking about these parts of ourselves, these protective parts, managers and firefighters, we begin becoming self-compassionate. Because if we become and know and soak it in that these parts mean well, they mean to do well, we begin to eliminate shame from ourselves. And then there's the wounds part. The word exiles can be used. So when things happen, really sad things happen, those parts are covered up by the protector parts. That makes sense. So if you see people in life using denial, projection, being defensive, displacement, regression, have any of you taken Psych 101 before? Yeah, so if these are familiar, that makes sense, because Sigmund Freud talked about defense mechanisms, right? So these are protective parts trying to help themselves feel better, So if you see anyone using these things, which I know these are big words, and if this sounds any interesting at all, you could take a psychology class. If someone is being defensive, it's like, no, I didn't do that thing. No, I didn't do that. And it's just someone having a hard time maybe accepting some responsibility, but they're just trying to fight for themselves. They don't want to feel responsible. They're upset. They're in crisis, okay? Displacement which is a really sad example, so I'm a dog lover, so give me a grain of salt, okay? Displacement's when is someone upset, or they may, first of all, punch a hole in the wall or hurt their dog, something like that. I don't want to say it because I love dogs. But that's displacement. When something's going on and someone has anger or sadness, they channel it outwards like that. That's that example for a defense mechanism. And it's hard to deal with that when someone's like that in our lives, right? It is very much so. But if you are operating with some defense mechanisms, that's just you trying to deal with stress and anxiety and worry. So let's give yourself some love. Okay, I'm doing that because I feel really upset right now. Maybe I don't have that person I need that I can actually talk to about things. So let's keep that on the shelf right now because we want to circle back to that point in a few minutes. Self-compassion, I know we hear this word and a lot of people are like, what is this? Is this just a hokey pokey artichokey stuff, Yeah, but once we dive into it and we look at things with this lens that we're having today and knowing that we all have parts of us that we're so hard on ourselves, inner critics, we actually have to find a way to incorporate some gentleness and care, especially if we live in a critical environment or have people like that around us, okay? So your self-energy, your core, that's never destroyed, so that's very hopeful, it's true. It's characterized by compassion, curiosity, clarity, creativity, calm, confidence, courage, and connectedness. So is there any point in life when you feel like this? You can just answer that to yourself, because we'll get to a discussion point in a few minutes. If you feel like your full self, and take inventory at any part of your life right now, grab onto that and just realize that's the part we want to acknowledge as being the core self. If it's to be determined, it's just you'll find it eventually, you'll find it soon, but we want to have those people around you that support your experience and your journey. All right, so we're forming some self-compassion in a few minutes here, yeah? Takes time. That was a little bit of a smile kind of there, because I would love for this to happen right now, but I want to also, it's a journey to figure this out. But if we start today, after this quick talk of a lot of things I'm saying right now, associating some gentleness with an inner critic voice, we begin that journey of emotional healing, actually. And things will feel different. Things will feel a little bit better. I think it's important that we all be a bit flexible with ourselves to begin with, to do this thing. Then self-compassion, those protective parts actually become they feel more relaxed, less likely to use those defense mechanisms. Oh, my clicky. So where does the inner critic come from? I kind of said it a little bit already, right? Again, it comes from your external world that has been internalized and saved. That word internalized means saved. If there's anyone around you that's hard on you, critical, teachers, coach, all these voices. And then your brain just saves it and you think it's towards your own self when something happens unexpectedly time and time again. So that's why I get to hang out with you all right here and just say these things out loud, because I just want to catch it. I just want to catch it now before it gets any worse, because I wish someone did that for me. Because I used to be a kid before, so I remember what it was like, kind of thing, right? Okay, so if we do this, those protective parts will feel better, and we'll be able to access our self-energy more. And by the way, who's heard the term emotional regulation before? This is a recipe of true emotional regulation that I'm outlining to you all right now. And it takes knowing who could be your supportive people in your life to be able to unearth things, talk to things with. Hopefully you have people like that in your life already. There's therapists like me that do these things. This is not the point of saying this, but there's so many therapists out there that could be a great fit for so many of you. And so it's okay to talk about your feelings. It's actually okay. But we want to put you in a spot where it feels more okay, because everyone has feelings. Okay, so doing this whole process, reworking it with all the words I'm saying right now, we want to change these statements around. And I think my emojis were acting kind of funny, so it looks different than when I did it, but that's okay. The I'm not good enough, I'm never doing a good job can be adjusted to actually, I'm always doing the best job I can. I aim to do well. I try. You try. And by the way, if a grade is, around the F range, like I have an interesting philosophical view on the word failure. I don't think, because it's just feedback about things, doesn't define you, doesn't define you at all. It's feedback about how you can make adjustments moving forward, okay? The should. I did everything I could when I was in that situation. That could be adjusted to that. So when we feel the shoulds coming up, enter some gentleness that's actually warranted. I did the best I could when I was in that situation. Even if it's something later on. You go back and you think about it. Your brain's thinking about it. The brain does that when it's trying to figure things out, just so you know. And it's like, okay, if it's trying to reprocess something and make sense of something, I did the best I could in that situation, and I have to give myself the respect. I'm not in that situation anymore. So you have to trust the you that was wherever you were before. So it's kind of like self-trust. Then there's a lot of hard feelings like the I don't matter part. You all matter. You all deeply matter, so dearly. You all deserve to be seen and heard. So first of all, to get there is letting yourself be seen and heard by yourself. And being like, hey self, we got some feelings, we got some parts to work on, and that's okay. Because I want to give myself the chance to access some self-energy, emotional regulation. That's what that means. I did something wrong. I always have good intentions, and it just takes me some time to figure it out. Wouldn't that be nice if we all agreed as humans, or at least here in this town at this point in time, just start doing this a little bit more? Things would start to feel different. Okay, there's a mysterious piece of paper on your desk. You are allowed to flip it. So if you can write down in code words, inner critic voice example that you're dealing with, that you're battling with, you don't have to tell us, it's okay. And it's sometimes, like I said before, it's hard to confirm exactly what it is sometimes because it can be felt so strongly in the body. So if a best friend or someone you care about was saying those statements out loud, and what would you say to that person? Again, you don't have to say it out loud right now, but this is to you right now in your mind. What would you say to that person? But by the way, this person's you, right? Write this in the next column, accurate, compassionate statements towards that inner critic voice. So sometimes, and this is the third column in, you don't have to write anything down there, that's okay. This is heavy. This middle one, it's like a heavy column, okay? Those inner critic voices with the first column connects to that third one in the middle, the core emotional wound column, right? So that's where those narratives are. Unmet needs of the inner critic voices. What is the need of that inner critic voice? What nurturance does it need? If it was a kid sitting next to you, this part of you, it's usually a younger kid sometimes, right? A little kid part of you. What did that kid need? What does it need now even? What do you need now? And so the last column is a plan of action. After writing down the unmet need column, it makes us think about what are we going to do with those needs that we need to have be met with nurturance and care in this last column. So what's your plan? But my plan, if you were sitting next to teenage Emily right now, I would write my plan of action at that point in time would have been tell your Aunt Nancy a bit more and go talk to your school counselor, the one that seems like the coolest. I'm just going to say it, no offense to anybody, it just happens because we know how it goes. The one that's the best vibes is basically what I'm saying, the best energy vibes, the one you feel safest with. And then go from there because the adults that you're safest feeling with in your life are supposed to advocate for you and help you. Because although sometimes we feel alone, you're never alone. There's actually a person here and there, and it takes time to reflect like this to realize who those people are so we can make a plan.